I hope you can hear me okay. Perhaps you could just pop into the chat box that you can hear me okay, just so I know it's all coming through. Okay, so I'm going to start sharing my screen and you will be able to see there. If you have any questions throughout, then if you just want to pop something into the chat and I will be able to see that, and then we can answer those questions. So I'll get started. So I'm Sarah. I have worked for the Business Station and the Digital Solutions Program for the last couple of years. And I've been in marketing for over 25 years. So I've got quite a lot of experience in this. I've written all sorts of different kinds of content. And so this will help you to decide on the different kinds of content there are out there and how to learn how to use what you have to your advantage to get the right content to the right audience. So this presentation was originally 2 hours. So I'm going to try and cram as much of it in as I possibly can. And we're going to go through things like content goals. So where's understanding your customers, how to build buyer personas, a buyer's journey, and then types of content. Now, some of this I'm gonna just brush over because it does go into quite a bit of detail. And if you want to learn more, I'd suggest booking a session on buyer personas or understanding customers separately with a digital solutions advisor. So we're just going to brush over those. But the reason that we need to basically write content is because clever, engaging content will leave a good impression on your ideal customers. And there's lots of different kinds of content. So you can discover there's lots of different types of tools as well that you can use to get your message across to your customers. So, but you need to understand who those customers are first. And so let's have a look at some of the content goals that you might have. So similar to traditional marketing, your content strategy should be centered on your marketing goals, and those in turn should be derived from your company goals. Now, your goals could range from attracting more visitors to your site to generating more leads to anything in between, as long as they're SMART goals. So they've got to be specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. And an example of this kind of goal would be something like to increase organic traffic to the blog by 25% in the next quarter. That's what I mean by SMART goal. So, and once you've determined what you want to do and what you're trying to achieve with each of your pieces of content, then they need to be aligned with your desired outcomes. Now, in sum, always start with your goals and then create your content. So what are you trying to achieve? And everything we pretty much do in marketing is about solving people's problems. So when we're talking about the types of content, it needs to be engaging. It needs to give them something to hook into, but we'll go into that in a bit more detail as we go through. So understand your customers. Now, before you can write any content, you really do need to understand who it is you're talking to, because if you don't understand your audience, then how are you going to know what they're interested in and what problems they have that you need to solve for them? And so as an example to this, if you were in the insurance world, for example, you might have 3 different kinds of ideal customers, and they might range from tradies, because they need to insure all of their vehicles, their tools, their workmanship, etc., through to families who need to insure all of their home, their contents, vehicles, and so on. And then down to like the local coffee shop owner as well. The reason that you differentiate them as different buyers and different customers is because how you talk to the tradie and the language that you use and the tone of voice and the style and the information that you give him will be very very different to that of a family. So you need to understand, who is it I'm talking to first? Who are my ideal customers? And by understanding ideal customers, I usually say it this way. To understand your customers, we're talking ideal ones only. So ideal customer, everybody will be a customer at some point, but they might not be your ideal customer. So if you were to walk into a networking event with $1,000 in your hand, and you could bet that money on 2, 3, 4 different types of customers in the room, who would you want to see in there? Who would be your ideal customer? So if we take the insurance example, we'd want that room full of families, tradies, and small business owners like coffee shops and hairdressers and things like that. That would be our ideal customers in that room. So that's what you want to imagine it like, and that will help you. Now, when you build a buyer persona, I like to use this. You're kind of considering building a sort of content strategy is more than considering the type of content you want to create. As I said, we need to work out who we're speaking to. Now, I've used a picture here of a dog and a cat, and if anybody's got a dog and a cat, you'll know what I mean. We're talking to humans, obviously, but how you treat a dog and what a dog needs is very different to how you treat a cat and what a cat needs. So that's what you're trying to consider when you're talking and finding out your tone of voice is, who are they? What do they need? What problems can you solve for them? And the key to creating successful content for them is to make them feel like you're talking to each of them individually, but that would be really, really hard. And so the only way you can do this is to build them in groups. You kind of want to like get them as if you've known them like an old friend for years. You should be aware of their obstacles, what he said, their pain points, their challenges, their fears. And similarly, you should understand their best possible outcomes, their dream solutions, and their best goals that they want to achieve. Always remember that you are marketing to humans. I know I've used this analogy of a dog and a cat, that those humans want to feel connected to you. So when you're doing social media, for example, they don't want to just hear you've got a new product. They want to hear how that product will benefit them. So you might post one that would be, and you might have a schedule up that would post talking specifically how the benefits of that product helps a tradie. And then the next day you might have a similar post, but it would be aimed at the family and how it would attract and work for them. So ideally you'd know everything you can about your customers, so you turn them into a semi-fictional character. It does take a bit of work. It's a bit of research, a bit of guesswork, and a bit of tweaking, but the end result should give you a clear picture of the person that you want. And this is what you might end up with, something like Fred and Bree. So these are all the kinds of questions you want to answer yourself. Now, if I found this online, so if you want to Google or take a screenshot of this, you can listen back to the recording afterwards. But you'll get this information by looking for buyer personas online. So these are some of the starter questions you want to ask yourself. So things like, their personal information, and you build like a picture. I'll show you in a moment with an example. You want to know what their goals and challenges are. You want to know some professional information. And again, some of this you're just going to have to guess based on experience and based on who you want them to be. What are their values and fears? Is there any negative info? Are there customers that you don't want, that are too difficult, too expensive to support? They don't have enough budget. So you might have a certain type of customer that you don't want to attract. And so they're the kinds of things. And what we're trying to get to is, where are they? So how do we communicate? What media do they consume? So if you're struggling with this, just imagine a typical day in the life of that buyer. So I've got an example here of, and I know I've gone back to dogs, but I thought it was quite a fun way to do this. So we've got an example, Marty the Golden Retriever. So his age, he's 12 in dog years. His location is on the Gold Coast. His occupation is a good boy. His education, he went to obedience school. and his income, he finds what he keeps. So, you know, and that's the kind of information you build a portfolio with a picture as well. It's always handy to feel like you're actually talking to that ideal customer. What are their online behaviors? Well, he shops here, he searches Strut the Pup for the best dog sitters, and he loves watching squirrel videos on YouTube. His pain points: getting his humans out of the house for a walk, the cat, and balls rolling under the couch. And what he cares about: well, his meals being delivered on time, my human's well-being, all the balls and treats he gets. And what does he dislike? Fireworks, little dogs, and the cat. So that is, and I'm now going to show you a version of a female here. This is Bree. So this is a similar way to do this. A lot more information in here, but it's still got the same information. It's got a day in the life of Bree. So early morning, late nights, you know, describe her activity. This is in a university town and it's based on a coffee shop. So if I was a coffee shop and I was in a university town, what do I know about my ideal customers? And what are their online behavior? What are they looking for? What influences her? Hopes and dreams, worries and fears, how to make her life easier. That's what we want. How do we help her? And then I've got another example here, and this is Adam. So this is a construction company, and this is Adam, who is looking to build his forever home. So if we could do again, but you see, goals, values, challenges, pain points. What can we do to help out Adam? And you know, where is he located? Roughly, what's his age? Roughly, what's his income? So on and so on. So that's how you paint them. And if you do, as I said, Google this, you will find examples of these that you can use to base this on. So now forgive my next screen because it's part of my 2-hour workshop. So we'll just move straight on and we will have a look at your journey, customer journey. So this is important as well when you're considering the types of content that you want. So this is a typical buyer's journey. So what we want to be doing is thinking of the stages that a person goes through when they're purchasing, and you want to be in all 3 of those stages. Now we want to create, so different content comes into different parts of this, and I'll show you this on another screen. But the reason you need to be in all of those places is because at the awareness stage, as you can see here, the customer is experiencing and expressing symptoms of a problem and is doing some educational research. So you need to be in that area at that time so that they'll stumble across you. They might not have heard of you, but they'll stumble across you. So they're already aware that you might exist because they've seen articles. And this is where blogs can come in. This is where having website information can come in. This is where advertising comes in. And then you've got your consideration stage. Now they're going to they've clearly defined what their problem is, and they're committed to researching and understanding all the available methods. So now you want to give them as much information you can about your product. So this is where your website now comes in. More blogs, more articles, more downloadables, that kind of thing. And then your decision stage is they've now decided. So they need like a landing page on your website where they can actually go get the information. They might need to download some lists. So I'm going to show you here a graph. So you can see the kinds of things. So this is what they call the top of the funnel, and it's like a sales funnel, and then down to the bottom of the funnel and all the different ways. So in the buyer's journey at the top here, we've got social media, Google ads, and search engine optimization. So that is making sure, and I'll give you a quick idea of what search engine optimization is. Basically, every time you go to search for something online, the only way that you find the right results is because the search engines make sure that they try and deliver the correct answers to you. Now, the only way they can do that is if you as a business give them the correct information. So what you have to do is make sure that if you've got a website, and I strongly suggest you should have a website, even if it's just a landing page, it should have 300 words of content minimum, just to be able to explain with keywords about your business. So if I was a mechanic, for example, I'll have the word mechanic in there, but I won't just have the word mechanic. I'll have how to fix windscreen wipers, how to service my car, where to service my car, all those kinds of things that people might be looking for online. So that they're called long tail keyword phrases. And what they are is just a long description of a keyword. And so there's more about keywords and search engine optimization. But if you can just imagine that the search engines are a bit like librarians, but they're blind. So everything you do about your business in the online world, you need to describe it really well with keyword phrases that people might search for. So a really good way to do this is to go into the search engines themselves, like Google, and start typing into the search bar what you think someone would search for you, and see what the kinds of questions are that come up. And then if you look a bit further down the page, what you'll see is there will be people also asked. And they're the kinds of questions people are also asked too. There's another tool as well, and it's called answerthepublic.com. It's a free tool. You can do, I think it's 3 free searches a day. And what you do, you just type in 1 or 2 words, and it will tell you all of the kinds of questions being currently asked in Australia. So make sure you select Australia right now on that particular topic. And it gives you ideas to do social media posts, blog posts. It's because it's telling you what people are looking for. So it's a great free tool. So moving on, when, as I said, when we've got to these stages, what you want to do in that awareness stage is, as I said, blog posts, checklists, tip sheets, infographics, that kind of thing. Consideration stage, podcasts, webinars, worksheets. And then, you've got your landing pages and things like that. So we've got our website optimization in here. And then we've got the decision stage. So that's the bit here where you want kind of maybe offer them demos, free trials, product guides, consultations, coupons, make it really easy for them to want to come to you. And again, if you have a look, you will find a buyer's journey if you search online. Again, if you need any of these tools, I've just picked them as easily as I could from the from Google, just to be able to show you. Now, the reason I always mention Google is because of all the search engines, Google's the top by a huge way. He's at 90, I think it's 93% of searches are done with Google. So really, we're talking mostly about Google. But obviously, there are the other search engines too, like Bing and Yahoo, etc. DuckDuckGo, there's loads of them. So this is the bit where we get into the different types of content. So we've got content doesn't just have to be written content. So we can have content that ranges anywhere from videos and photos to written content. And I'm going to just show you a list of just some of the things that you should think about when you're looking at content. So we've got social media. So while social media is a relationship building tool, it's also used to promote content. So it's about finding the right balance between self-promotion, sharing useful information and entertainment. There's lots of different social media channels. So you've got Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Pinterest, LinkedIn, so many more, TikTok, you name it, they're all social media channels. It's important to have the right ones for your business. So when you're looking at where should you be with content, I want you to have a look and think to yourself, social media, where would so this is where our buyer persona comes in. Because if we know the age and the type of person we're looking for, we can work out by a bit of research who typically uses Facebook. So what do we put on Facebook? And what are they typically interested in about our products? And when I'm talking about that as well, there's no point. I'd rather you didn't bother to put your energy into social media if you're not going to do it properly. But properly doesn't mean you have to do it every day. Properly just means you need to be regular with it. So if you're going to post 2-3 times a week, just make sure that you're giving something of value. And there's lots of ways to do this. One of my colleagues, Dante St. James, is a social media guru, and he has some great tips. He says, think maybe one day ask them a question. On another day, maybe be a little bit controversial. They say black's the new red. I disagree because, you know, those kind of things that are interesting and engaging. Don't just post, we produced this today. They don't, so what is my answer to that? What's the benefit to me of what you've just produced? Tell me tips, tell me things I didn't know before. And I'm going to give you some examples of this in a minute. So basically the key is modifying the content for the platform as well. So, but I actually also have a repurposing tool, and that repurposing tool allows you to use your content multiple times. So if you think about it, you're very time poor as a business. So why not produce something where we write a blog on a subject, then we turn that blog into a Google Business profile by just copying it and pasting it and putting it onto your Google Business profile. Now, if you don't have a Google Business profile, please go and get one. They're free. It's easy to claim. Just Google it, how to claim my Google Business profile, and it will talk you through step by step. I do actually run workshops on that too, so watch out for a workshop, and so do some of my colleagues. Then you've got paid promotion and things like that. So what you can do is, if we write the blog, we then copy it, and you want ideally a minimum of about 500 words, but if you can only talk about 300 words to start with, do that. And there's lots of artificial intelligence out there now that you can get, and if you look for lifetime licenses, you can often get something fairly cheap. There's a tool I use all the time called Write Cream, and basically what it does is it stops you from having to start from scratch. It's not perfect, but you put in the topics and you can pretty much write a 500-word blog in about 30 seconds. So you just give the company name, you give it a topic description, and then you could use that from your answer the public search you've done. And then it will ask you some questions, and you just choose the best answers, and it will slowly generate a blog for you, or so quickly generate a blog for you. Now you can just copy it. You will have to correct it. It's not perfect. It is artificial at the end of the day, but it's pretty good, and it's plagiarism free. Then you want to do, from that, you want to turn that into your posts. So you're going to have to shorten it. So you just copy across the main points, copy across the whole article, and just take it down to the amount of words you're allowed. And then you can turn it into social media content. So then you can decide what posts can I get out of this? And then what paid promotion can I get out of it? And then, as I said, you're repurposing it. Your content is being there. Now, email marketing also fits into this, because email is still one of the best ways to reach your audience. If you think about it, anybody on your emailing list has asked to be there. They've opted in. So you can you want to kind of improve your open rates by making sure that you're sending relevant content to segmented lists. So if you've got different buyer personas, the tradies, for example, compared to the families, then you would segment them into 2 or 3 different lists. And what you'd send one, you'd send someone else differently. So that's how that works. And always make sure that your headlines are catchy. I don't know if you're aware, but only 60% of people read past a headline. Sorry, the other way around, 60% of people don't read past a headline. So you need to make your headline really catchy. So now with paid promotion, what we're talking about here is that it helps you get your content in front of new audiences. So you're paying to target your ideal customer. So that's, again, another reason why it's important to start. Why I started with an ideal customer. And once you define your ideal customers, then when you're going the paid route, you won't waste so much money, because you will be reaching the right people, and it can yield a really good return on investment. And that's why I say to you, be careful with your social media. Even if you're doing it yourself, it's still a return on investment, because you're investing your time in doing it, and only a very small percentage, 1 to 2% of your followers will actually see your individual posts. So think how much time and effort you're putting into doing these things. And then let's have a look at some of the topic ideas that we can include. So we've got things here like the benefits of things. So, benefits, reviews, how-tos, frequently asked questions, interviews, ultimate guides, anything you can think of, but don't think of why you're writing it and what you're trying to get out. And what you're trying to get out is engagement. So when we're writing blogs, I'm going to come on to that next. So these are some of the contents, and it will make your brainstorming much easier when you've got, maybe even create some pillars like this that cover different topics. I've actually got a spreadsheet that I use that's got all the months of the year across the top. There's lots of free tools out there that you can use. Asana is one of them. Trello is another. You could investigate those options and help you plan out your structure and what you're going to do and post. But if you start getting into the habit and thinking of all the topics that come in, there's a great site called Days of the Week, or Days of the Year, and it tells you all of the different international, national, etc. days of the year. There's some very weird ones in there, like Hamburger Day and wear your glasses, sunglasses at work day, and there's some weird ones, but you get some good ones in there too. So now we've got writing and checking. So whatever it is that you're doing, the creation process follows some pretty similar guidelines. Write to your persona, use their voice, use euphemisms, even their humor to construct a piece that resonates. Use titles, meta descriptions, and other teasers to compel your audience. A meta description is basically like an intro to what's coming next into this. And it basically compels and teases your audience to read the rest of the article. So put the benefit of your content right in the title. Now, a lot of people assume when you're writing blogs that the reason you're writing the blogs is for your customers to read on your website about that particular product. But I'm going to explain to you in a moment why you're actually writing them. So bear with me. Then create something unique. Don't simply regurgitate. And that's where a piece of artificial intelligence will help you. Make sure that, you infuse your unique style or cite something that's new to research or something like that will help you emphasize your points. Stick to one idea and don't actually, and reinforce it. Don't actually try and confuse with too many topics. So if I've written a blog on content and I need to mention search engine optimization, I will always have a link there that tells more. So it would just be a short paragraph on, because this, like I've done today, I'm not going to go into too much about SEO or search engine optimization, because it's not part of this talk, but you do need to understand a bit of it for this. So I would suggest now you go and learn about search engine optimization, but I am going to talk to you a little bit more about it. Always stay true to your voice. Don't try to impress your audience. And, especially, with expansive vocabulary, if they don't speak that way, you shouldn't do it either. I like to use humor, as I said, not everybody does. You can be a little controversial sometimes. Be concise and clear. You want your audience to relate to you and to get some value from your content. And they don't want to have to be searching through lots of jargon or confusing metaphors. Keep it simple. I've sat in many a meeting where people have used terminology and acronyms and things, and you have no idea what they're talking about, and you feel silly asking. So I hate to put people. And my final thing is just make sure you check for errors. So, maybe ask a colleague, install Grammarly. It's free on everything. It's great. It will check everything for you. And follow a process through. So I said I'd just go with a little SEO, and I did touch on it earlier. So when you were writing your buyer persona, that would have given you some ideas about what topics to write and what sort of questions your audience might have. And now you need to confirm if those ideas can apply on a bigger scale to a larger audience. So doing your keyword research, with the way I said, going through Google, typing into the search engines and seeing what is popular is a great way to do that. Now, a good way to go about some keyword research, apart from the answer the public, is, and apart from checking on Google, is to use the tool that comes from Google as well. So when you set up your Google business profile, you can also get access to a Google keyword planner. And that keyword planner will tell you things like monthly search volume. And what that means is how many people are searching for that particular phrase. It will also tell you how difficult, it will say high, medium, low for competitors. So what that means is if you are new to doing all of this and you're competing for a keyword, say mechanic, this is why I want you to do long phrases throughout and don't stick to short words. Because if you're trying to compete for something like that and you're not going to have as much money or experience as those. And so if it's highly competitive, you're never going to show up in the search engines. You're not going to show up on those first pages. Simple things like making sure you've got a Google business profile, that you're writing blogs regularly, that you've got all the right content on your website, and that you have some other things like links, etc., will help with getting you there. And so if you always see that everything you're doing, you're telling the search engines first so that they can give it across to your customers, you shouldn't go too far wrong. I think that's probably all I could really tell you is about SEO in this short time. If anybody wants to ask any questions, feel free, pop it in the chat and let me know if you have any questions. So I'm going to move on to tools. So we've got some content creation tools that you can use, and there's some really good ones. So they go from anywhere from creating GIFs to infographics. These content creation tools help you look like a kind of professional when you're doing things. And so there's lots of tools out there. I'm sure most people will have heard of Canva. It's an amazing tool, and it will help you do some really professional looking artwork that will go with your blogs, with your social media profile, with presentations. You can do a presentation like I have done here in Canva. You can have the free version and you can have the paid version. So you can customize it, you can put in your branding. That requires the professional version, but the professional version is something like $13 a month, something like that. It's well worth the money to have the Canva account. I actually can use the Adobe Creative Suite with InDesign and Illustrator and Photoshop, but I tend to jump on Canva before I do those because it's so easy, and because there's designers have already built in hundreds and hundreds of templates in there. So follow a course on how to use Canva, because I promise you you'll love it when you get into doing that. There's a tool called Giphy, and basically the GIF, it kind of has replaced emojis as a kind of a form of communication, I suppose. And therefore, you want to be able to create your own. So using Giphy, you can search millions of pre-made GIFs, and you can even create your own in there. And that would just help. Going back to think tools like this in Canva, whatever you're doing, you need the images. People are visual. So, but what you have to remember is name all your images, because remember, the search engines are blind. So you describe everything. You describe your photos in your website exactly as if you were describing it to someone sitting beside you who can't see. If you had to describe what's in that photo, not only what's in it, so it doesn't need to be like, here, this is paintings. What you want to say is it's a wall of different paintings that are done in different kinds of art forms. So be really descriptive about it and put that in there, and try and use your company name as well as if you can. Vidyard is a video hosting platform that was made for marketers, and this kind of software allows you to customize videos. You can add overlay text or call to action buttons. You can split text and transcribe, and it's got some SEO features in there as well. So that one's worth a look at, and it's spelled Vidyard, Vidyard. And then if you want to ask your customers what they're thinking, because we should really know what our customers want from us, why not use something like SurveyMonkey and run a survey and get some feedback on what's working and what's not working. And then the final one that I think is really handy, apart from the ones that I've mentioned throughout the course of this, this session, is a tool called Anchor. Now, Anchor is a podcasting tool for beginners. It's free and it allows you to record and store unlimited episodes. So you can easily upload to any third-party platform, which will make your life much more interesting. So creating a content plan, I'm going to share with you, we talked about this earlier, and I'm going to show you how I do this, or just one of the ways that you can do this. So here, what I do is, this is an Excel spreadsheet. And so what I do is I just create all the months across the year, and then I decide on all the themes that I am going to, that are relevant to my business for the year. This was based on shopping centres. And you can come out and use that tool that I mentioned earlier, days of the year. Have a look through there, see if there's anything there. And what it will help you do, you'll see as you look down the list here that you've got website content, blog ideas, Google My Business, social media ideas, and e-newsletters. So what we're going to do is we're going to, once you've built this, you can just keep adding to it. And you can then decide on the services or products relevant to the time of year. And then you can decide, do I have the right website pages in to cover these subjects? So if we're in winter, do we need to add a page on, if I was an air conditioning company, have I written something on, you know, how to save money on heating in the winter time? Maybe even talk around the subject. So if I was a landscape gardener, I wouldn't want to just talk about landscape gardening. I'd perhaps talk about how pets affect your garden, how the weather affects your garden, the kind of tools that you use that you found, you know, give people some real value out of what you do. So try and think outside the areas that you're talking about specifically. And then, as I said, we said earlier, then you just repurpose it. So you've got this idea, you know what product you want, you've made sure you've got it on your website. You've got, I've said 1,000 words here, as I said, it's everybody will give you a different opinion on this. So I usually say anywhere between 500 to 1,000, but if you can only write 300, do so. And if you now the difference with a blog and anything else with input is that a blog is just about adding content, and it's like adding little chapters to your online world. That's what you want. You're building an online presence. And the bigger your presence, the more likely Google and the other search engines will show you up in searches. So what we want to do with the blogs is put them on there to cover all those questions that are being asked, because you don't want a massive website necessarily. So the blogs go in there, not for the people to read necessarily, but for the search engines. So if you Google the Googling subjects, you have a look, sometimes you'll see quite often a blog will come up, and that's taking you to the person's website where then they'll sell to you, because there'll be links to sales pages and so on. And then, as I said, we put it in your Google business profile, we share it on social media. And then we use e-newsletter. I just then, for ease, would take a couple of the blogs and I would put that into an e-newsletter. So now really I could do all that probably in a couple of hours. And especially with the artificial intelligence tools, and there you're done. Do that one day a week or even one day a month and schedule it all and you're done. So we said about social media. So there's the different kinds of social media, and you don't need to be in all places for all things. So Facebook can basically be used to build communities. You can use Facebook groups, you can join, you can create your own, you can join others, you can share. But when it comes to sharing content, questions and videos reap the most engagement. So trying to use video content and moving content is better. And you know what? People want to see behind the scenes. They don't want to see necessarily staged photos or, you know, Photoshop photos or stock photos. They want to see. So when I worked in shopping centres, we would take shots of behind the scenes when a new store was coming, and we might tease them with, you know, guess who's coming soon, you know, and little clues and tips. It's about engaging. Sometimes I would share a post from the butcher at the centre I worked at. He was very popular, and so I would take a photo of him holding, because it was about him, holding a meat tray, but we talk about lamb. So it might be a lamb meat tray, and we might say in there, who loves lamb, who's got the best recipes for lamb, share to win a meat tray. And it would go absolutely nuts because people loved his food for starters, but also they wanted to win the meat tray, and they wanted to engage, and they were getting recipes and all sorts. Other things I've done is been controversial in social media. So I have gone around shops at certain times of the year. So at Christmas time, I'd go and take photos of hot cross buns as they started to arrive. And in October time, when the Christmas tree and decorations used to start going up, I'd start taking photos of those and saying, wow, does this get earlier every year? And because it's slightly controversial, people will comment on it, and then they'll share it and go, can you believe this is up already? Or, and flavors of hot cross buns, what do we think? Is this too soon? And what about this flavor? Do you know they now do Vegemite flavor hot cross buns, for example? And people would start to comment, and they would share. So that's what you want. That's what you're after: engagement, comments, likes, shares. Instagram is so Facebook's more of like a social engagement tool. So that's what you're doing, sharing contents, questions, etc. Instagram is more about sharing high quality imagery, short videos. You've got reels. There's all sorts of things that you can do with this, and I would suggest doing one of the workshops on social media, or speaking to one of our social media experts that would be able to help you more with that, with stories and so on. Then you've got YouTube, and that's got 1.3 at the last time I looked, just over 1.3 billion users. But there are other opportunities with other channels as well. So digital media changes daily, so it's worth just having a look. There's a great resource that I always suggest people follow, which is HubSpot. Now, HubSpot is actually a customer relationship management tool, but they also run lots and lots of articles on how to do things in the digital world, and they keep you up to date with what's trending. So HubSpot is a good academy to use, and it's all free. And they're not trying to sell you something, which is nice. So when it comes to your website content, here, these are the kind of things that we want to focus on. So we want to look at things like your persona, your keywords that you're going to be using, and your solution to the problem that you're trying to solve for somebody. So similar to blog content, the copy on your website needs to guide visitors to your solution in a very cohesive and natural way. Should never be more than 3 steps away from an answer. So everything you need to do, whether purchase something or whatever you're trying to do, it should be 1, 2, or 1, 2 and final third. Shouldn't be more than that. You don't make these things complicated because you'll lose your audience. Your pages also need to load really quickly as well. It should be under 3 seconds. Similar to a blog content, the kind of copy you need on your website needs to guide visitors to a solution to their problem in a really simple way. And kind of think of your website like a map, to a roadmap to them purchasing. You want to guide them down, introduction. And on a website, the first thing you see when you land on a website is what they call above the fold. And what that means is it goes back to the days of newspapers, and it's what caught your eye enough to pick up the newspaper and want to buy it. That's what you need. I see so many websites. This is just an internal page that I'm showing you here, but I see so many websites that just say welcome in the top. That is such a waste of space, and is not doing your business any favors if you do stuff like that. What you want to say is your company name, branding up in the top with your menu. And then you want to have something like we build websites, or we help you to write your own book, or we help you to style yourself with the latest event. So tell them exactly what you need to do. Be careful not to turn visitors away through social media feeds and other distracting elements. So you can include a social media feed, but you want to try and keep them on your website. So if you do take them off for something else, try and get it to open in another page so your website's still there. And ideally, 300 words minimum, as I said earlier, per page. I see a lot of shopping websites that don't have that. They just go straight into the shop. That's a big mistake because it doesn't work for search engine optimization. So blogs we've touched on. The purpose of the blog content really is just supporting your business. So as you've seen there, I've seen some great headlines in these when you're writing blogs. One I saw a long time ago was discover what happened when I put permanent markers in the kids' birthday party pack. And it's just something like that helps you. There are free tools out there that blog title generators, but also if you do get yourself some artificial intelligence to help you, have a look at something like Write Cream. And they do a free tool, and then Google to see if they've got it available on a lifetime deal, because you'll save a lot of money that way. And they help you to generate meta descriptions, website content, anything and everything that you can think of that you might need. And then there's no point really in doing anything about what we've talked about unless you're going to analyze the results. So on your website, you know, the page views, the number of users that visit your content, you know, how many people are visiting, your organic traffic, the amount of traffic that comes from search engines compared to them just typing the name into the your URL into the address there. And then the bounce rate, you know, the percentage of visitors who leave your site after visiting only one page. Well, does that mean that your content's not enticing enough to take them to another page? Do you not have links? Because ideally you want to have links that go from page to page to make it even easier. And that works for the search engines as well. They watch all those things. They have little bots that check, have you got links? There's free tools that can help with all this and tell you what you're doing right and wrong on there. You've then got conversion rates, so the percentage of visitors that engage with a call to action, did they convert? You've got engagement rates, the number of people that interact with your content through likes or shares or comments, and audience growth, the new subscribers or leads that are generated from a piece of content. So, and that's on your website. You've also got the same in your social media, your insights. So if you use a tool like Meta to look after your Facebook and Instagram, which I would recommend if you're just doing those two, because it will give you the insights, how many people, how many impressions there were, so shared out, how many, and you can see here as well on your website, total impressions, you know, the average click-through rate. So how many people are clicking through on links that they've seen? Was it interesting enough? And then you can kind of work out, well, do those pages work? Don't they? Should I change that? Should I add a link there? That information, that blog wasn't very successful. That post wasn't very successful. So results mean a lot. And if you don't read the results, you're wasting your money. Because the beauty of everything in the digital space with digital content is that if it doesn't work, you can tell instantly. So you don't have to do it and repeat it. So I think that's all I can do. If you haven't signed up for the Digital Solutions Program, and you've come across this video through another route, I do really recommend that you sign up. You've got, you'll get 7 hours of personalized business mentorship for $44. Major, and it is only $44 for all 7 hours. Got lots of experts. We cover all sorts of things, not just marketing, but also online security and data privacy, using business software, all sorts of things. So if your business is eligible, you will be able to, and I'll leave the screen up for a second, you can just scan there, or you can go to the Business Station website and just link on there. And you need to have an ABN registered in Western Australia, Queensland or Northern Territories, and you've got to have been running a business to make a profit, and you must have less than 20 full-time staff members. But apart from that, I'd really recommend it. It will be the best $44 you've spent. We've got experts that have worked in finance, in cybersecurity, and I'm sure all of us are aware of cybersecurity at the moment, thanks to Optus and Medibank's issues going on. So well worth taking the advantage of it all. So I don't appear to have any questions, so I am going to stop sharing my screen. and say goodbye for now, and I'll see you in another session at another time. Thank you.